Okay, good afternoon, everyone. We're here in the Monterey One Water Boardroom. This is the Recycled Water Committee meeting of Monterey One Water. It is Thursday, March 20th, 2025 at 3 o'clock. And I'm calling our committee meeting to order. And I'll ask that we take a roll call for who's here today.
Veranda,
Here.
Castroville,
Here.
Marina Coast,
Here.
Monterey, Pacific Grove.
Here. Takes us to item 3. Any additions to the agenda, staff?
No additions.
Okay, so I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
Move approval.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Moore, second by Habino. I'll take a voice vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none. Passes unanimously. Now at this time, we'll go to item 5, general public comment. These are comments on items not appearing on today's agenda. Does anyone so wish to make comment online? Seeing none and seeing no one in chambers today from the public, we will go ahead and move on to item 6. This is considering approval of the Recycled Water Committee minutes of February 13th. I'll entertain a motion on that.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Habino, second by Moore. Any comment on the minutes online? Seeing none, we'll take a voice vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, passes 4-0. Approve the minutes.
Hey.
And now we're on to item 7, which is going to require a presentation. And Chair Williamson has joined us, so we're at full strength for the committee. And we'll go on to item 7, and I'll recognize Nathan Clark.
Good afternoon, Chairman Smith and members of the committee. I'm Nathan Clark, Operations Supervisor. Monterey One Water operates a regional treatment plant for the RTP, treating 17 million gallons per day. Operators use 14 golf carts to travel between multiple treatment areas for inspections and maintenance. 10 carts have reached the end of their useful life, requiring frequent repairs and impacting efficiencies. Taylor-done Bigfoot S carts feature heavy-duty steel frame for industrial use, LED lights, regenerative braking, enhanced safety systems, and operator presence system to prevent unattended movement. The purchase is through Sourcewell, a cooperative purchase program ensuring competitive pricing. Staff asks that the Recycle Water Committee recommend that the board approve purchasing 10 Taylor-done Bigfoot S electric utility carts for improved durability and safety, total cost of $193,000, $193,623.11, including tax and freight. And that is budgeted for this fiscal year 24-25. I'm here to answer any questions.
Thank you. Committee member questions? Director Moore?
What's the estimated service life of these new carts?
Typically, you would get 10 years of service life out of a piece of equipment. These do come with a 4-year warranty as well, and that's to include all major components.
Okay, we'll check back with you in 10 years to make sure you've made them last that long.
Director Habino?
Hello. So the previous ones, they were electric as well?
Correct. The previous ones were a golf cart, not a utility cart.
Oh, I see.
And we do sometimes, we have tools that we carry on the carts, and having a utility cart with a heavier load capacity would help to improve the life expectancy.
So was there any credits available in terms of money out there in terms of you're purchasing a new basically electric fleet?
That is a good question, and I'm unsure.
So Jose Guzman, Operations Manager. Most of the electric credits are on the heavy duty vehicle size. It's usually 3/4 ton and above because it's based on weight, 8,000 pounds. So these
Gotcha.
carts are well under that. So
Yeah, because
unfortunately, yeah.
and it might have been just aimed at ag, but there was a program where if you turned in your gator, you would be able to get pretty much a credit of 10 grand each on for a new purchase.
So we will be utilizing the auction service we recently contracted with for the carts that Nate is gonna take out of service when these arrive.
Got
But we will get something in exchange for them.
Gotcha. Okay.
But you're right, Ken. The existing ones they had are electric as well, but they're just old golf carts.
Right. Oh, those will be nice.
Okay, well, I guess I'll entertain a motion on these. This sound like nice carts that are not going to be used for golf, unfortunately. Well, I guess that's good. We're using them for the right reasons. Okay. Anyone would like to make a motion on this?
Move to approve?
Second. Motion by Habina, second by Safani. I don't think there's anyone online wishing to comment. I don't see many folks on there, but I will check. And seeing none and none in chambers, take a voice vote. All in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, passes unanimously. Thank you very much, Mr. Clark. We'll move on to item 8. This is consider recommending approval of a second amendment to H2O Innovations contract, essentially. And item 8, and I'll recognize Chief Plan Operator Jose Guzman. Actually, it should be Operations Manager.
Yeah.
Really get your title updated over there.
Thank you, Chairman Smith and members of the committee. Jose Guzman, Operations Manager. Monterey One Water's advanced water purification facility requires the use of a reverse osmosis threshold inhibitor, which is introduced upstream of the RO cartridge filters to help prevent scaling. On October 20th, 2022, the board approved the award of a chemical contract to H2O Innovations for a not to exceed cost of $110,276.95 for the supply and delivery of RO threshold inhibitor with options to extend any cost increase based on the producer's price index by commodity for chemicals and allied products, but not to exceed 10%. The first extension, which was the first amendment of the contract, was exercised and approved by the board on February 26, 2024 for an additional a one-year term ending March 15th, 2025 with a 1% increase in cost. Although we are past March 15th, we did start negotiations with the supplier early. Unfortunately, it fell in line with the transitioning in the White House, and the threat of tariffs made the negotiation process a little longer than expected. And we did finally land on a number we agreed with. We were, although, able to order a load under this existing contract, which just expired. So we're good for the next 6 to 8 weeks. So there won't be a lapse in service once the board approves. If you approve, we won't have any gap in service and we can reorder under new contract. I just wanted to point that out. H2 Innovations and M1W finally did agree to exercise a second amendment to the contract for a 1-year extension at a 4.1% increase in costs. Staff asked that the Recycle Water Committee recommend that the board approve a second amendment to H2O Innovations for the reverse osmosis threshold inhibitor contract for the advanced water purification facility for the not to exceed amount of $115,897.86. I'm here to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you very much. Committee member questions? Okay. Well, we do a lot of chemical purchasing around here, so this is another one of those.
Maybe one question.
Yes.
Do we have space to stockpile more when there are favorable pricing available?
The space is limited, but once we're in the contract, the price is going to be set for the year essentially. So it would be difficult. I mean, we could probably stockpile a few totes, but It just presents other challenges too, as far as having it online, just stored, because the space is limited.
Thank you.
I'll entertain a motion at this time for approval.
Move approval.
Thank you. Chair Williamson, motion to approve.
Second.
Second by Chair, or by our Director Moore, sorry, Tom.
Former chair.
Former chair, former vice chair, okay. Go ahead and take a voice vote, or actually online, is there anyone wishing to comment online? I was just running through all your ranks. Go ahead and take a voice vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, passes unanimously. Thank you very much. Keep the plant running here. Now we'll go to item 9. Another agreement, professional services agreement. Recognize Jennifer Gonzalez, Capital Improvement Projects Manager. That's title still good?
Yes, good afternoon, committee members. I'm your Director of Engineering, Matt Thompson. I'll be presenting this item for Jennifer Gonzalez. She's away on vacation this week.
Okay.
As you likely know, we operate and maintain the Salinas Valley Reclamation Project, which produces tertiary quality recycled water for irrigation of 12,000 acres of food crops in the Castroville area. The SVRP, as we commonly call it, is an important facility for sustaining agriculture in northern Monterey County. The SVRP was commissioned 27 years ago and is still operating with much of its original equipment, including the electrical distribution system. This is remarkable considering the typical life of an electrical system in a wastewater treatment plant is about 20 years. And this system has been operating in a particularly harsh coastal environment. This electrical system has indeed reached the end of its useful life. Some of the components are actually in danger of failing. So it is pretty important that we begin to prepare for a full replacement of the electrical system. Back in December, we requested proposals from professional engineering firms to prepare plans, specifications, and estimates for the SVRP electrical system replacement project. The goal is to upgrade to safe, modern electrical equipment that is housed in enclosures to protect it from harmful corrosion. We intend to set up the replacement electrical system so SVRP may be easily interconnected with the electrical systems of the regional treatment plant and the advanced water purification facility. This is sometimes called a microgrid, although we're technically not supposed to use that term. But imagine a future where all 3 of our plants at that facility are interconnected. This will greatly improve the resilience of SVRP by providing new backup sources of electrical power. We received proposals from 4 firms. A committee of various technical staff independently reviewed the proposals. The consensus of the selection committee is that TJCA and Associates is the most qualified and best fit for this particular project. TJCA is a well-established California firm with staff presence here in Monterey. TJCA happens to also be the design engineer for our regional treatment plant electrical system upgrade. It's a similar but different project. So there are definitely efficiencies gained by working with TJCA. TJCA's proposed fee for the engineering design services is $459,160, which is reasonable for a project of this size and complexity. So I'd like to recommend the committee recommend to the board approval of a professional services agreement with TJC and Associates to provide engineering design services for the SVRP electrical system replacement project in the amount of $459,160. Our agency operates and maintains SVRP for the benefit of Monterey County Water Resources Agency. So that agency will be responsible for the cost of this particular project. The County Water Resources Agency has established adequate budget for these design services. That's all. Thank you. I'd be glad to answer any questions.
Thank you. Committee member questions? Director Moore?
So first question, has this proposal been looked at by Monterey County Water Resources Agency staff, and I give it a thumbs up also?
Yes, they actually participated in the engineer selection process.
Excellent.
They had a say in the review of the proposals.
Okay, very
They're
good.
very well aware of this project and are very supportive.
And does the design process that we get for this almost $500,000 include how to install the new equipment without interrupting service on the old equipment?
Yes, the planning and the sequencing of construction is going to be a very important part of this to absolutely minimize the downtime of the existing process. And it's actually one of the factors why TJCA and Associates was picked, because they presented ideas in their proposal about how to set up the new equipment, tie over the power, decommission the old equipment. Is very well thought through for just the proposal. Very good.
And the decommissioned equipment, I assume, will contain a fair amount of copper?
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty common. I can see what you're getting at. Typical contractor will, if they're savvy, they'll factor in the salvage value of the copper for the old equipment.
Well, that's assuming that our contract with them says that they must dispose of the old stuff. I mean, if we had some equipment of whatever nature that we're going to replace, and we thought it would have more value if the contract just said, take it out, sit it on site, we'll figure out how to dispose of it, or the term that's sometimes used in the industry is reverse logistics.
Yeah,
Like you're
yeah.
doing with the golf carts.
Yeah.
So the plan in this case, though, is to have the contractor.
There's two ways to do it. I mean, you could have the contractor set aside the old equipment for you to salvage and extract value from. Typically in cases like this where the copper's bound up in complicated equipment that requires complicated dismantling, you would put that into the contract for the contractor to
Figure out.
disposal.
Mhm.
And you typically see the cost savings come to the agency reflected in slightly lower bid amounts.
Got it.
But again, we're just getting started with design. We'll explore which route is
Right.
more appropriate for this particular project.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions? All right,
I'll move approval.
thank you, Director Moore.
Second.
Second by Habino. Check online, see if there's anyone that popped in here. Doesn't look like it. Okay, take a voice vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, passes unanimously. Thank you very much, Mr. Thompson. We'll now move on to item 10 and recognize Mr. Lindow.
Good afternoon, Chair Smith, committee members. Dave Lindow, Pure Water Monterey Program Manager. This action item has to do with providing $335,795 additional budget to the engineer providing support on one of our expansion projects, AWPF expansion. Again, there's three players. You have your general contractor, you have our third-party construction manager. This is the engineer who helps them do their parts of the job. If you look at the 335,000, about half of that are two items, the record drawings and the O&M manual update that we've known from day one we were going to have to spend money on, but we waited until almost the end of the job because it's better to estimate them at that point in time. The other half of the budget amendment has to do with the engineer needing to provide more submittal reviews and more responses to requests for information. Again, construction is progressing. The engineer is a key member of that team, and we hope you consider this budget amendment as necessary.
Thank you very much. Any committee member questions here? It's kind of a neat, thank you for bringing up these items today. I haven't been too contentious. Okay. Yes, we want to complete the project, yes. So I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So moved. Second.
Okay, motion by Williamson, second by Stefani. Any further discussion? Seeing none, take a voice vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, great. Thank you, Mr. Randolph, for keeping us on track. Go to item 11. And I'll recognize Tom Carreras, Associate Engineer. Tom here.
Good afternoon, Chairman Smith, members of the committee. I'm Tom Correttis, Associate Engineer, here to discuss a recommendation for an ESDC contract amendment for the Monterey and Seaside Pump Stations Upgrades Project. As Mr. Lindau just mentioned, ESDC stands for Engineering Services During Construction. In May 2023, bid documents were completed for construction of CP 330 Monterey Pump Station upgrades and CP 331 Seaside Pump Station upgrades. These were combined into an overall pump station upgrades project. The construction project was advertised for bid on June 14th of 2023. And in August, at the August 2023 board meeting, in conjunction with award of the construction contract to Mountain Cascade for $33,812,973, the board also awarded an ESDC contract or contract amendment to Corello Engineers. That was a contract amendment because we already had the design contract with them to do the design which was issued for bid that I just mentioned. So the contract amendment number 1 for Corello Engineers from August 2023 was awarded in the amount of $1,086,400 plus a 10% contingency, bringing that to $1,195,040. ESDC includes submittal review, cost analysis on change order requests, responding to RFIs, developing and issuing design clarifications, participating in construction meetings, site visits, and other items as needed. Notice to proceed for construction on this project was issued on September 20th, 2023. And while construction is going well on this project, this extensive mechanical and electrical overhaul has required significantly more RFIs, requests for information, design clarifications, submittal revisions, and design modifications than anticipated. This is largely due to unknown site conditions, and facility conditions associated with poor as-built documentation from when these facilities were originally built in the early 1980s, and subsequent changes that have taken place since then, modifications and the like. So with that, and I'll also speak about another design addition that we're wanting to add to this project that will be covered under the ESDC umbrella. But with that, the additional ESDC budget is now needed for the remaining work on this project to get us to the beginning of 2027 when this project will be complete. An example of, in addition to the need for more engineering services during construction that I just described, an example of an additional design service that will be needed, that will be funded by this contract amendment, includes the design of a 2,700-foot fire suppression line, basically a pipeline, a 2,700-foot, probably going to be about a 6-inch pipeline to provide fire suppression for the Seaside Pump Station. The nearest tie-in line in CalAm's system is near the Monterey Tides Hotel. And the need for this was underscored by a fire incident that I think we all remember from at the SUPS pump station on the evening of September 18th of last year. That ended up being say kind of a near miss type of event, but in subsequent discussions with the fire department and Sand City, again, a need for adequate fire suppression and a nearby fire hydrant for this facility was very much underscored. So now is the opportunity to add that to Corello's contract and design for that. So with that, staff would ask that the Recycle Water Committee recommend that the board approve a contract amendment, that would be amendment number 2, to the CP 330 Monterey Pump Station upgrades and CP 331 Seaside Pump Station upgrades design contract with Corello Engineers for a not to exceed amount of $410,500. This brings Corello's total contract amount to $2,793,729. I'd be happy to take any questions.
Thank you. Thank you for working on the pump stations. It's important that we take care of our pump stations. Any committee member questions? Director Moore?
So the original pump stations that are being replaced at this point, how long did they take to construct?
The Monterey pump station is kind of an outlier because it was a conversion, a large demo. Well, they both had large demolitions of the existing treatment facilities, secondary treatment facilities with which discharged uncomfortably close to the shore.
Right.
But so there was a pretty large demo component included in that, and then the design of the subsequent pump stations, which were largely on the same sites. With the records that I've gone through and all the pictures, it was these facilities took about 2.5 years to build, both of them.
Okay, and are we effectively rebuilding them from
It's
scratch, or?
not from scratch. It's not a greenfield type rebuild, say right next to the existing facilities. Consider a complete overhaul of one's home, but the actual bones, the structural components and such remain. They're definitely getting an aesthetic facelift, both of them, but they are going to be the same facilities, and all the nuts and bolts, all the guts of these facilities are being rehabbed, are being swapped out, replaced.
It's predominantly mechanical and electrical equipment that are being replaced while keeping the stations running. So that's a lot of what the
Right,
contract cost was
right.
to maintain that. So like concrete foundation, all that good stuff is still there.
Yeah, I'm just wondering why it seems like this has been going on for what, more than a year and a half, and you said it would be completed when again?
It's scheduled to be completed in February 2027.
So you have the good fortune of sitting through this for another 2 years.
Yeah, so what's taking so long?
One thing I'll add, Director Moore, is that with these projects where you need to keep the facility running
That's the
full
thing.
time while you're swapping all this stuff out, we try to do the bulk of the work that exposes the facility to emergencies. We try to focus that work into the dry season. So that's the April 15th to the October 15th window. So that's really go time for the heavy parts of these projects. So in the previous dry season, during April to October 2024, we did a ton of mechanical work, lots of piping replacement, very kind of exposed, delicate work on both Monterey and Seaside Pump Station. But we achieved an incredible milestone by completing, with the exception of the pumps, which is obviously the hugest mechanical piece, but in terms of the outside piping, some of the large valves in the wet well, we completed a lot of mechanical work in that 2024 dry season. That was a huge milestone. And now, starting this next April, we're going to jump headfirst into the electrical overhaul of the Monterey Pump Station. And then for the following 2026 dry season, that'll be focused on the Seaside electrical overhaul. So in the wet season, there are bits of work that could be done on this project. For example, for the last couple of weeks at the Monterey Pump Station, there's been a large handrail replacement alongside the old secondary clarifiers, which are now going to be emergency storage. There's things like that that are done. So the project doesn't stop and everyone goes home. There's plenty of work to be done, a lot of administrative stuff, but the work kind of goes down to, let's say, like a 30% level when we're in the wet season. So that kind of explains the protracted nature of this project.
So when they're doing the big pieces, even in the dry season, you have to run separate bypass 24/7.
Yes.
Why not completely shut down the old system, run that separate bypass 24/7, 365, even through the wet season, and get the job done sooner? Is that because we have concerns that the bypass exposes us to more risk?
That is correct. the bypass is great. It works, but we're definitely not sleeping as well at night when we're doing the bypass. It works for a period of time. Um, there's a lot of controls and requirements in the spec so that for example, during the 2024 dry season where we did a ton of this mechanical overhaul work, the bypass system that was deployed was full Cadillac, but it's extremely expensive. And again, it does have a lot of exposure there. And if you're going to keep that bypass system going into the dry season, you got to upsize it. And then it's a whole different facility.
You mean into the
Into the
wet
wet
season?
Sorry,
Into the wet season.
Yeah, so there's obviously the capacity issue. And as Tom mentioned, I don't know how to say it in a technical manner, but there's a huge pucker factor if you have a bypass in the middle of winter with some of the storms we've seen.
Right.
I mean, it's bad enough with our existing facilities, and Jose can attest to the flow increases over these last few storms and how actually the percent increase is greater coming from the peninsula going through the pump station that Tom's working on than the Salinas side. So there is that sequencing or scheduling that has to occur to minimize risk, but also be cognizant of cost.
Right.
One more thing I'll add, Director Moore, is getting to the end of that 2024 dry season. Sure, the cutoff is October 15th. The contractor was doing a great job. They needed 2 to 3 more weeks. So you start having those uncomfortable discussions, and in the letter of the law, essentially the specs, we can say, oh, well, you got to upsize your bypass facility by 3 times. That's not going to work. So we had to look at the forecast. We had to work with the contractor and complete this work. And so we worked with the contractor. We added an extra 2.5 weeks to that dry season, and everything worked out. But those are kind of some of the uncomfortable decisions that have to be made.
Because the weather was nice.
The weather was nice.
Right.
And so when we were able to pull out that bypass facility and return Seaside Pump Station back to regular operation, that was definitely a great milestone.
Well, we certainly shouldn't have any future problems with weather forecasts with the meteorologist being replaced by AI.
Okay, any additional, Director Moore, Williamson, Chair Williamson.
You're good.
Apologize.
Just call me whatever you want. I mean, out of the 400,000, how much of that is the fire suppression line that's been added to the project?
That's 141,000.
And that's only for the Seaside Pump Station. The Monterey Pump Station is good to go with service connection.
The Monterey Pump Station, that's a great question. We're exploring that to see where the nearest connection is at the Monterey Pump Station. And I can report back. I think the Seaside Pump Station again was again illuminated by that September event.
But we can look at where the closest hydrant is, and I'm sure the fire department has flows on those as well.
All right, no other questions? I'll entertain a motion to approve.
Approval?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, take a voice vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Seeing none, passes unanimously. Thank you very much. We'll move on to staff reports.
Thank you, Chair Smith. Just a couple quick ones. I had the opportunity to participate in the Water Use Association National Symposium from Saturday through yesterday. It was frankly the largest symposium to date, over 1,000 people. And just obviously with 1,000 people, the sheer number of papers, presentations, panels, it was just a lot of good content there, and felt fortunate to be able to participate as we have. Bit of good news, you may remember in reference to Pure Water Monterey expansion, we applied for an EPA WIFIA loan to the tune of $77 million, which we received. Mike, Rachel, Johanna, and our other grant people and lobbyists helped us get about $42 million in grants for the project ballpark. So we took the opportunity last year to request to amend the agreement on that WIFIA loan to allow us to use the grants, and then the remainder part of the loan to help out with some of the electrical reliability, also leading up to backup power for Pure Water Monterey. So hence the nexus to the Pure Water Monterey expansion. Well, after a little bit of limbo, in all honesty, based on some changes at EPA that you can imagine, we received an email a few weeks ago that effectively approved that amendment. So we have now the ability to move forward with some of the projects that Matt has been promoting, and I think are critical for our agency for pure water as well as just electrical reliability. So that was really good news because well, Johanna and Rachel realized I was really nervous that it was just going to crater because of what was happening at the federal level and that amendments to existing contracts would not be allowed. So feel very fortunate that moved through. Last thing I wanted to update you on, where did Mike go? Yeah. So as you all know, we sent an email to all you, Mike will be moving on. Although his last day, I believe, is April 2nd. He's taking a bit of a vacation starting this Saturday. So I was going to take this opportunity to embarrass him as best as I could, since he will not be here at the board meeting, but we'll have to save that for a later date. But he's obviously done a great job. He's been here longer than I have. Tom, I guess, Tom and Ron, you probably remember when he was brought on like in 2012-ish, I think. And we're very happy for him. He's moving on to the Water Management District as their Assistant General Manager. So it's a great step in his career for him and his family. Any other staff reports?
Yeah, I've what I believe is another good news item. As you may know, we've been in construction of the Pure Water Monterey injection wells pipeline project. We call it Injection Wells Phase 4. And we had a bit of a hang up. We had a short section of the pipeline corridor where we didn't have easements yet in place with Marina Coast Water District. And we've been working through this for the past, what seems like couple of months. But I'm happy to report that as of this morning, we received final easement documents from Marina Coast ready for signature. So we'll be executing those easement documents, and that will enable us to move ahead with construction, completing the pipeline loop. So.
Yes, Chair.
That's very good news. Thank you very much. Paul, can I loan you a pen?
Please.
And my understanding, and maybe it's an incorrect understanding, there were some other associated properties along the pipeline where we still need to work through some permanent easements. Can you report on how we're doing in that regard?
Yeah. And now I'll start and Tom can fill in with details if needed. We had been operating under a right of entry permit with the city of Seaside, essentially building a section of the pipeline. And it turns out that one of the underlying parcels was actually still owned by the U.S. Army.
Surprise, surprise. Thank you very much, Flora.
Fortunately, the process of conveying that property to the city of Seaside is in progress. They've already gone through the public process of that. And so very soon, in the matter of weeks, that parcel should be properly conveyed to the city of Seaside. Our expectation is that shortly thereafter, it will be conveyed to Marina Coast Water District.
Yeah, that was my understanding, at least about some of the square footage of that. I know the specifics.
So that's also moving in the right direction.
And are we making progress in getting the right of entry permits from Seaside for the Seaside-owned parcels further down that pipeline converted to permanent easements?
Good question.
I could speak to that.
Yeah, please.
So Seaside has had some staff turnover. What precipitated our efforts to get this right of entry, which was the same mechanism that was used to build the existing facilities out there, was the fact that in spite of our efforts of getting an appraisal and working with Seaside and trying to, make good on the existing encumbered sites where there's existing facilities, as well as get easements in place to build the phase 4 facilities, we never got there. The Seaside had said that they were going to come back with another appraisal. We provided them materials to go out for an RFP to get an appraiser. It never happened. So when it was time to put this project out to bid, we'd very much appreciate that Seaside came to the table, not wanting to hold this project up, and worked with us on the ROE approach, which is what we're using to build 95% of the project. As it is now, I've been working with Seaside's previous city engineer, and I know that she had been working on getting an appraisal, a second appraisal. At one point before she left for a different position, she said she thought that it was close. Since then, we've heard nothing. I think we've really wanted to kind of press construction forward, and also with Seaside just bringing on a new city engineer, we're eager and ready to resume those discussions.
Well, if there's anything staff thinks any of us on the board of directors can do to try and smooth that process forward, I don't see any vigorous, no, we won't help from any of my fellow directors here. So I think, feel free to call on us to try and make that go forward.
Thank you. Thank you. Any committee member reports today?
Just one request. I can't quite remember whether our contract with CalAm to deliver water into the Seaside Basin is based on fiscal year or calendar year, but would it be possible to put together a little spreadsheet table for whatever year that's based on, which shows what we've made at the plant and then what we've injected? There's probably some minor differences, and in more recent years, a difference of about, 300 acre feet a year because of water going to Bandit and Black Horse. But it'd be nice to have a annual summary based on whatever the year is that's used in the contract.
Yeah, we can absolutely do that. If I'm not mistaken, the water purchase agreement was on a fiscal year basis, which everyone gets, I get confused about, because then we talk about calendar year and then water year, and everyone looks at it a little differently.
Is that our fiscal year or their fiscal year or, right?
So no, we can definitely do
But
that.
whatever year it's on.
And then what AWPF produces and gets out of the plant versus what's injected we can do that for the last 5 years.
Yeah, that'd be good. And that also might be some clear, I'll let Rachel and company think about this, but that might be some clear PR, beneficial PR about Pure Water Monterey. Most readers understand years.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, all those online. Mr. Gilpin, thank you for coming today. And
Thank you.
and thanks everyone here that's in the boardroom and on staff. We appreciate it. And meeting is adjourned.
And no closed session.